Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday evening, October the 2nd, 2022. I hope everyone is safe and doing as well as possible. We made it through another week and it's been wild, and I know a lot of people are struggling right now with things that are going on around the planet. I'd like to welcome everyone to the show tonight. This will be my weekly update that I'll be putting on YouTube. And we're going to look at climate related items and methane and sea ice and some earthquakes and see what's going on with the planet. So I want to start out just showing what happened with our Hurricane Ian and how the weather system, it stretched all the way across the Atlantic. Okay, so if we go back, well, first of all, okay, so here we were last Sunday, September 25th. We're on NASA Worldview, and these clouds up here approaching Greenland and kind of going across, that was leftover remnants of Hurricane Fiona. And then so right down here is Ian, where it's kind of forming here in the Caribbean. Here it's the 25th. So that was Sunday. Here's Monday. And you can see it's formed and it's coming up across Cuba. And then Tuesday, 27th. Here's the eye just off the coast of Cuba. And here's the big arms of the hurricane. And look at all this. Is an atmospheric river stretching all the way up the coastline, and so that's on Tuesday. Here's Wednesday, where it makes landfall, and then it does a right turn across Florida. But look at these clouds. They go all the way across the Atlantic, and here's Iceland up here, and it's hard to make things out because of the clouds. Let's see. Okay, so here's Ireland and UK, and then so it's coming all the way across there. And then on the 29th, here it is. Here's the eye on the east side of Florida, coming back out into the Atlantic. But look at this atmospheric river all the way across. See? That's insane. And then the 30th, here's where it's coming up into South Carolina, North Carolina, and then it kind of dissipated or slowed down a whole lot. But now look at this system here coming all the way across the Atlantic, and it hits Ireland and UK and is up to here's Norway. So that was on Friday. Look at that. Have you ever seen anything like this? I mean, across a whole ocean? It's crazy. And then here on the first, see, it kind of broke up across the Atlantic. And it's still inland with some rain. And here we are today on the 2nd. And looks like another big system there. So that was pretty impressive. The next thing I want to share is I want to talk about the Russia pipelines that got blown up and the methane that's coming out from those. This is from The Guardian. And what's the date on this? Wednesday the 28th. Nord Stream gas leaks may be biggest ever with warning of large climate risk. Here's a picture of the gas bubbling up, all the methane. It's a huge area in the Baltic Sea off the coast of Denmark. And the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines, these were Russia's, and they were in the Baltic Sea, on the sea floor, and they pumped liquid natural gas from Russia to Germany and other European countries, and these were blown up. Colossal amount of leaked methane, twice initial estimates, is equivalent to a third of Denmark's annual CO2 emissions, or 1.3 million cars. Okay, scientists fear methane erupting from the burst Nord Stream pipelines into the Baltic Sea could be one of the worst natural gas leaks ever. It's not a leak, it's a gush, and pose significant climate risks. Neither of the two breached Nord Stream pipelines, which run between Russia and Germany, was operational, but both contained natural gas. This mostly consists of methane, a greenhouse gas that is the biggest cause of climate heating after carbon dioxide. The extent of the leaks is still unclear, but rough estimates by scientists, based on the volume of gas reportedly in one of the pipelines, vary between 100,000 and 350,000 tons of methane. And there were actually 3 pipelines that were destroyed. 2 of them were from the Nord Stream 1, and then the Nord Stream 2 was the third one, and it had not been used yet. And then seawater got inside the pipes, and apparently they can't fix it. It's not going to be fixable. And these were Russia's pipelines that cost tens of billions of dollars. And anyway, it's going to hurt the people in Europe a lot, in Germany, to not get this. But and if anyone leaves comments, please try and keep it to a minimum as to political stuff. I know it's hard to totally not talk about political stuff, but we're mainly discussing the methane and the environmental impact here. And if a comment is left that seems to be too political or is not appropriate, it won't get approved. So I'm just warning you right now. So let's see. Jasmine Cooper, a research associate at Imperial College London's Department of Chemical Engineering, said a lot of uncertainty surrounded the leak. We know there are 3 explosions, but we don't know if there are 3 holes in the sides of the pipe or how big the breaks are. It's difficult to know how much is reaching the surface, but it is potentially hundreds of thousands of tons of methane, quite a big volume being pumped into the atmosphere. Nord Stream 2, which was intended to increase the flow of gas from Russia to Germany, reportedly contained 300 million cubic meters of gas when Berlin halted the certification process shortly before Russia invaded Ukraine. The volume alone would translate to 200,000 tons of methane. If it all escaped, it would exceed the 100,000 tons of methane vented by the Aliso Canyon blowout, the biggest gas leak in U.S. history, which happened in California in 2015. Aliso had the warming equivalent of 500,000 cars. And it has the potential to be one of the biggest gas leaks. The climate risks from the methane leak are quite large. Methane is a potent greenhouse gas, 30 times stronger than CO2 over 100 years and more than 80 times stronger over 20 years. And then this other professor, Grant Allen, an expert in earth and environmental science at Manchester University, said it was unlikely the natural processes which convert small amounts of methane into carbon dioxide would be able to absorb much of the leak. This is a colossal amount of gas in really large bubbles. If you have small sources of gas, nature will help out by digesting the gas. In the Deepwater Horizon spill, there was a lot of attenuation of methane by bacteria. My scientific experience is telling me that with a big blow-up like this, methane will not have time to be attenuated by nature, so a significant proportion will be vented as methane gas. Unlike an oil spill, gas will not have as polluting an effect on the marine environment, but in terms of greenhouse gases, it's a reckless and unnecessary emission to the atmosphere. Germany's Environment Agency said there were no containment mechanisms on the pipeline, so the entire contents were likely to escape. The Danish Energy Agency said on Wednesday that the pipelines contained 778 million cubic meters of natural gas in total, the equivalent of 32% of Danish annual CO2 emissions. This is almost twice the volume initially estimated by scientists. This would significantly bump up estimates of methane leaked to the atmosphere from 200,000 to more than 400,000 tons. More than half the gas had left the pipes, and the remainder is expected to be gone by Sunday. And then there's more, but so I'll leave the link below so you can look at this. And so far I haven't noticed a significant increase as a result of this. I don't think it's really enough to see that much on our daily things. We'll see, but it's not that much right now. All right. So let's start out with Climate Reanalyzer, and here's the 2-meter temperature maximum temperatures around the planet today. We've got blues over the Arctic Basin and over Greenland, and then quite a few greens still, and you can see the temperatures cooling here in North America, in parts of it with the greens, and then the reds, it's still warm. In South America, there are whites all across upper Brazil, and the whites are 40 C or higher, or about 100 degrees Fahrenheit and higher. And across northern Africa, Saudi Arabia, Iran, China, here's some still over northern Australia. Here's 2-meter temperature anomaly, and we've got some blues over the Arctic. That's where the colder areas, and then we've got browns right next to it. A lot of Greenland is in the brown, and Alaska is in the brown. Look at all this huge area of Canada in reddish brown, and that reddish brown is about 18 C higher than normal. And then here's where the US comes up to Canada. We still have some browns kind of through the Midwest and some of the West. And then blues on the right there. Here's the flat view, and we can see most of Russia is in blues, and then here's southern Russia, just above or next to Kazakhstan, that's in the browns. China has some browns, Africa browns. We've got a few browns in the Antarctic. But a lot of blues as well, which is cooler than normal. Right now, worldwide, we're up 0.2 C higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is up 0.8 C. The Arctic is up 1.8 C higher than normal. And the tropics are up 0.1 C. Southern hemisphere is down 0.5 C. And the Antarctic is down 3.4 C. Here's precipitation and clouds, and we're seeing rain in this North Atlantic, coming up to Iceland and Greenland. Also Norway, northern Russia, they've got some rain. Look at northern Canada, they've got rain right next to the snow. Here's the flat view, and that's a big, huge arm of rain there in the Atlantic. And see how far south it's raining here in the Pacific, almost to the western peninsula there in the Antarctic. Here are the jet loops. It's not a stream anymore. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different systems up here in the Arctic. We've got low pressure, low, low, low. And see the break. That's where the cold air is running down in North America, and then cold air escaping all the way across Russia there. Here's the flat view. See, there's no rhyme or reason. Look at how it's split, with a low arm coming across Mexico and the southern U.S., and then a high arm sweeping up across Canada, and then broken in the southern hemisphere. And this is sea surface temperature anomaly as of yesterday, and the sun is going down up here. We'll look at NASA Worldview today, and but you know, a lot of these areas, the water is still warm. It takes a long time once it's heated up from the continuous sunlight in the radiation. It takes a while for the water to cool down, so we still have a lot of browns in this Arctic region, and you know, 2 to 4, and that's 2 to 4 C higher than normal. The bright red is about 5 C higher, like right here. And then the light pink is about 6 C higher than normal. And we're seeing that, a little blob of that right here in the North Atlantic. So here in the North Atlantic, we still have this blob off the coast of Canada and just south of Greenland. And most of the Atlantic is in the browns going across there. And in the Pacific, we've got a smaller blob here in the Pacific, the western part and northern part. And then here's one in the center, north central, that's a bigger, that looks like an evil eye. And we still have all these browns just off the coast of North America, and browns all the way across the Pacific there, and coming across the southern Pacific too. Worldwide, we're up 0.4 C higher than normal. Northern Hemisphere and North Pacific are both up 0.8 C. The North Atlantic is the winner. It's up 1 C. And the Southern Hemisphere is up 0.1 C. And the Equatorial Pacific is down 0.4 C. And that's this blue region. And so that's gone down a tiny bit. So a little cooler there. Now we'll move on to methane. I've got 2 days worth of NOAA data to share. We're going to start with Friday, the 30th in the morning for the MET-OP-B or MET-OP-1 satellite. And we're tracking this 469 millibar level. The mean or average was 1948 parts per billion. The high reading was 2583, and these pinks, that's the high range between 2000 and whatever is the highest number here in the range. So 2000 to 2583 parts per billion on this one. And see, these pinks come all the way down to the Antarctic. In the afternoon, the mean was 1948 again, and the high reading jumped up to 2680. Okay, and then for the first yesterday, so they said that by Saturday, did they say Saturday, that all that methane would have been released? So that was yesterday. In the morning, the mean was 1947, so that's a decrease. The high reading was 2470. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1948, and the high reading was 2626. So this high reading is still up. So that could be, those readings could be from that spot in the Baltic Sea. We just don't know. We don't have access to that information. So here's my spreadsheet and chart. I've been tracking this. So on October 1st, that averages out to be 1947.5 parts per billion. That gives us a decrease overall this week of 1 part per billion. So we can see the line just going down here right at the top. And this was the first week since mid-August that it's gone down for the week. It's been going up. And have we peaked out on the methane? I don't think so, because we got a late start this year. I don't think we peaked out yet. And we're 12.5 parts per billion higher than a year ago, and we're 78 parts per billion higher than when I started tracking all this on March the 1st of 2019. And so if we look, last year we peaked out on October the 2nd, of 1936 parts per billion. The year before that, we had Twin Peaks on September 25th, and then October 23rd, so about a month apart, of 1914 parts per billion. So we can see here it peaked on the 25th, and then we had a couple of weeks of where it went down, and then we peaked out again on the 23rd, and then in 2019 we peaked out on October the 12th of 1897. So I mean, we're nearing the peak. Just don't know, especially with this new thing thrown in the equation. All right, let's see what happened this week. Here we were on the show last Sunday. We were looking at the data for Saturday the 24th. We were at 1948.5. And then Sunday it went down 1 part per billion. Monday it went down 1.5. Tuesday it went down 2. Wednesday it went up 1.5. Thursday it went up 2.5. Friday no change. And Saturday it went down 0.5, giving us an overall decrease of 1 part per billion. So that's where we're at. We're still setting records. We're still higher than where we were a year ago. With all of our readings, we're still setting records. So there's that. Now we'll look at cams. We're going to look at Saturday, October 1st. Arctic view and surface level to start off with. There's our color ledger. So the Baltic Sea is right here, in between Sweden and Finland. I think. I'm pretty sure. Let's look at we'll look at the earthquake map. That's a good way to tell. Right. Here it is. Oh, it goes all the way down. And see, all these countries are on the coast of the Baltic Sea. We've got Poland, Germany, here's Denmark, and this is Norway, this is Sweden, and then what's this one? Kaliningrad, that's Russia territory. Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and this is Russia here. This is all Russia here. So Russia right here at the Gulf of Finland. This is where Russia is on the edge of the Baltic Sea. then this is Finland. So that's the area. Now, I'm thinking, I'm not sure where it happened, what part of the Baltic Sea. I'm thinking it was closer to Denmark. I think that's what I saw. So, on this west edge. I'm not sure. Alright, so we'll go back. So we're looking at methane for Saturday. Now we've been seeing high methane readings from Norway over to Russia this whole for the last few months. This has been a real hot spot for methane, but we're seeing you can see the extra blobby area. Watch here. Here it comes. See that? Now that's on Monday, Tuesday. That's near Denmark. Anyway. And we can see these high readings streaming out. And then it's high still in the interior of Russia here. Kind of makes us forget about Komsomolets, huh? But Komsomolets is right here, and it's still percolating. And it's gone down a lot. And also here in the North Kara Sea is another hot spot. Alaska has been getting a lot of rain, and so see the interior is still high in methane. Canada, see those are high readings. Iceland, we're seeing hot spots pop up there. Alright. Now we'll go to the North Pole view. Here we can see the northern hemisphere. Here's Germany, right here. Here's the UK, Ireland, Spain and Portugal. Here's the Persian Gulf. Here's India. See it spilling over the coastline there. Pakistan, China. Now, it's gone down quite a bit in China. See, here's the edge. Here's the coastline. And it's not as blobby. See, it's that dark doesn't come all the way out to the coastline. So it's gone down quite a bit in China. Look at these waves moving out. Here's the US. Still a lot of blobs, a lot of hot spots. Look at this. Of course, after we get a lot of rain, the methane is high because the ground is saturated. And plus, you know, there was flooding and that water is contaminated. where it flooded up. So that's going to cause a lot of methane too. Okay, now we'll go to the global view. So we're seeing this darker blue coming in. That's the 1840 parts per billion color. And as we head further into fall and winter, we'll see darker colors. The methane will be going down here in the southern hemisphere. Well, and overall too, but especially down here. But our main background color in the southern hemisphere is still 1860. And we'll look at 500 HPA. Look at this. See, it's really broken up. We've got dark here across China, over to India. Here it's over the Pacific, and then up across Russia, and up here in the Scandinavian region, and here across Canada in the Arctic. And then total column. Let's see, the heaviest is Japan over to India, and also the Persian Gulf. Now I wanted to look at something real quick. Okay, here's the Europe view, and so this is Saturday. Let's go back to surface level. So, could be right down in here is where it's coming up from Nord Stream. So, I mean, it's a small area compared to these others. Let's see. I wanted to look at it at 850. This is 850 HPA. That's closer to, okay. Yeah, see how high that is? Got really high readings coming all the way up there. So that's closer to ground than the 500 HPA. Anyway, so there's that. Now we'll move on. And let's see, what am I going to show? I wanted to show some earthquakes from yesterday. There were 226 worldwide yesterday. There was a 6 here in the middle of the Atlantic. This has been rocking Reykjanes Ridge. There have been earthquakes there every day this week. And there were only 4 here yesterday, but the 6.0 was the largest, and then these were in the 4s range. Here's Hawaii, and they've had a lot of earthquakes this week. There were 31 yesterday, and the largest was this 3.5 at Mauna Loa volcano at a negative depth of 0.7 kilometers. So that earthquake was up in the chamber of the so it means magma's rising. That's all of those. Now let's go. Okay, here's a picture of that natural gas. So with it being natural gas rather than oil, it won't have that oily stuff on the surface. So it's a different kind of environmental disaster. It's mainly methane, and that, that'll come up out of the water. Alright, here's sulfur dioxide today. And this is a new high reading here in the West Pacific. And here it is at 500 HPA. See how it zipped up there? And here we can see it. This is the Pacific view. And this is all around the Ring of Fire. So we've got a high reading down here. This is, I think that's Solomon Islands. And then this one, see that funny, funny shape. It's a weird exclamation point shape. This, when I see exclamation points, that's a signature for earthquakes. So when it's defined like that. And usually we'll have the sulfur dioxide release a day or two before the earthquake. And here it is at 500 HPA. And it's pretty much a straight line with the highest reading. So I'm thinking that's earthquake. And it's just east of Japan. And here's a high reading at Kamchatka. That's probably volcano related. Here's the ozone hole over the Antarctic today. We can see it's huge, and it covers the whole continent, and it's gone down now 5 layers. We have a layer right in the center that's gone down to the black region, which is 100 to 125 Dobson units. So it's 5 layers down in the danger zone. And the only thing below the black is white when it gets below 100 Dobson units. And I've seen it do that occasionally, you know, and if it does, it'll be just a little spot, like for a day or two. Here's the ozone in the Arctic today, and we can see it's quite thin. Here's aqua over Greenland and the Fram Strait. Then we've got green coming across all the way over to Russia. And here's the global view. See all these greens? These are holes in the methane. All the greens. And that's all of those. Alright, now we'll move on to sea ice. We're going to start with our slideshow from Climate Reanalyzer. I download these images every day. So here we are today. Now supposedly we've hit minimum sea ice extent in the Arctic, supposedly on the 18th of September. And supposedly it's growing back. We're mainly seeing a little bit of growth right here in the Beaufort Sea and around some of these edges, and we're seeing it thickening, but in the last few days it's not really becoming concentrated, so it's not refreezing very well, is what I'm saying. And we can see some ice here coming in these tributary regions. Here we were last Sunday, so let's see what's happened this week. I'll just click through. Here was Sunday, here's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so you can see the whites coming out here. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and here we are today. There's that. And then we'll look at the U.S. Navy models. This is Arctic sea ice thickness. This is for today. So here's the extent, here's the edge where it's creeping out. It's still thin and a lot of holes, but I'm really watching what's left of this thicker ice, and it seems to be coming apart, and really the shape is kind of morphing. It's stretching and morphing. It was more of a straight line, but it's more of an arc now. And see all these darker aquas. That's where it's thinner. And here along the coastline, see, this had pulled away, and we see this, the whole thing sliding. The whole area because it's not anchored in to the landmass. So here's the 30-day animation. This was updated to yesterday, so the data goes back 3 weeks and the forecast goes out to next Saturday. See how it's all sliding down and stretching, and it'll be caught up in this Beaufort gyre, this thicker ice. And right towards the end in the forecast period, it seems to be kind of settling in around these little islands. We're starting to see a hint of green that's a little thicker than the aqua. The aqua is about 2 to 2.5 meters thick. The green is about 3 meters thick. And we're starting to see some reds here along the Greenland coastline. Reds are about 5 meters. Wait, what are reds? 4? Yeah, 4 meters thick. The dark red is 5 meters thick. But, it's going to take a while for this to thicken up. So there's that. Here's the Beaufort Sea Ice Thickness. Now the latest data they had was from Friday the 30th, so here we are. And this is the Beaufort Sea down here. Here's Alaska and Canada on the right. So this is the western edge of what was left of the thicker ice. Here's the 30-day animation. So the forecast goes out to next Friday. And so we're seeing regrowth a little bit here. But stretching and sliding. Seeing a little hint of red right here at the end. So I'm not seeing a lot of thickening yet. I think we're in for an unusual winter. Okay, here's the Antarctic for today. Sea ice thickness. The sun is up down here, and the majority of our thicker ice is here in the Weddell Sea, and it's just coming up to the western peninsula. Then we've got some aquas around the coastlines, and then blues and purples. Here's the 30-day animation. Again, this was updated to yesterday, so the forecast goes out to next Saturday. So we've been watching this western edge of the ice melting down. So it goes into a straight line and then a little curve in starting. And this is National Snow and Ice Data Center. I was not able to get on their site to get this data today, so this is from the 30th. This is their latest data for Arctic sea ice concentration. And we're seeing more blues here across the Arctic, meaning it's not as concentrated, it's not as put together, meaning that there are more leads that are open in areas between the water, between the ice. Here the white means it's concentrated, means it's solid. It doesn't mean it's thick ice, it means it's solid, even if it's a little skim. And here's the extent for the Arctic. This is for the 30th. Here's our blue line for the refreeze, and it looks like it's gone down just a hair there. So this dotted line is 2012, and the gray line is the median. I think we're going to meet up with 2012 pretty quick. Here's the Antarctic, and here's their chart. Now they're already melting. So we can see the peak was back here. I'm not sure when that was. Around September 18th was the peak, and it was below the median and below last year, and it's headed down. So it's melting already. Here's Greenland. They did update the Greenland Ice Sheet. This is as of yesterday. And any salmon color, that's where it's melting. So a couple of spots, just 4 or 5 spots up around this northern edge of the ice sheet. And here's the cumulative melt days for this year. And let's see, here's the highest on the southwest edge. And it's moving up close to 100, it looks like. And we had melting here this week on the ice sheet, and it was as a result of Hurricane Fiona. What was left over of Fiona rained. It rained on the south, mainly the southwest edge of Greenland, and we spiked up. One day we were at 15% melt. See, that was a few days ago, but right now we're at the bottom, and we should be nearing the end of the melt season. That's all of those. Alright, now we'll take a peek at NASA Worldview. And here's the Arctic. This black circle is where it's dark as a result of the sun going down. So Greenland, its most northern point here, is now in the dark, and this little edge of Ellesmere Island, that's in the dark. Here's the Beaufort Sea. And it's hard to tell too much with all these clouds. Here's the ice edge. Here's Severina Zemlya. And we can see this Volvolov ice cap very clearly today. And you can see it's still pouring into the ocean there. Here's Cumulative. Here's Franz Josef Land. And here's Svalbard. And here's the ice edge. And then Greenland is here. So, let's go back. Forgot to do this. This is the sea ice concentration layer. See all these reds and pinks? That's where it's not very well put together. So let's go back. Here we were last Sunday. See, there were more whites at that point in time. And we were still seeing this hole on this north arm. So let's go through. Here's Monday, Tuesday. Okay, so here's some regrowth in the Beaufort Sea. Uh-oh, what am I doing? Hold on. I dropped something. Okay. We even have a hole here opened up north of Greenland here on Tuesday. Here's Wednesday. See, there's the hole still. We've got some holes opening up on this east side here. And Thursday. Here's Friday. Saturday, and here we are today. So we still got holes on this arm here. So there's that. Now, what am I doing? let's see what we can see. Not much, seriously. Here's the nearest strait. So here's a big cloud. So most of this is still open. So here's the ice. Now this is some of that thicker ice here. You can see it's cracking as it's moving. See these leads? That's open water. See that? And we saw the other. I don't even know what the nighttime layer looks like right now. I haven't even looked at it, so let's turn it on and see. Alright. See if we can make out anything. Not really. Here's the North Pole in the center. No, we can't really tell anything there. Okay, let's go to the Antarctic now. We can see the sun is up. It's still low to the horizon, so it's not full force yet, but it'll gradually start going up. So we're going to start over here, just past this western peninsula. Here's our iceberg, 876. Let's see what it's done this week. So here we were last Sunday on the 25th. It hasn't moved very much. Here's Monday. Here's Tuesday. Here's Wednesday. Now it's breaking up. See these pieces? This is just started Wednesday. Here's that little island it nearly collided with. Thursday, that moved up, and more pieces. It's Friday, look at that. Here's Saturday, and here we are today. So it's kind of in a holding pattern. Here's the western peninsula. Let's come down here. And this is Pine Island Glacier. It's under a big cloud right now. And where's Thwaites? Here we go. This was Friday. Here's Thwaites Glacier. And then we've got clouds. But it's going to be coming apart. Here's yesterday. Here's today. And we can see through the cloud. Here's the edge of this ice tongue coming down. this is the Ross Sea. Here's the Ross Ice Shelf. And then over here, this is Ross Island. This is Mount Erebus. So the sun is at a strange angle to cast a shadow like that. I don't know if that is a shadow or what. Part of it is shadow. Here's the southeast edge. Here's the Totem Glacier. Let's see. Here it was yesterday. See this tone? So they've got a cloud layer there. Coming up the east side, here's the Amory Ice Shelf. It's yesterday. That's a pretty good view. No, maybe not so great. Oh, here we go. This is from Friday. And here's the little lip around the ice shelf, and then this is the ocean coming up. Alright, let's come on up. Here's the northern edge, and then here's the Brunt Ice Shelf. Let's see, right here. And there's that. Let's come back to today. Alright, now let's look at some earthquakes. Okay, right now we've got 273 that have come in the last 24 hours. So we're seeing some larger dots around the red lines. Here's 5.7 South Sandwich Islands, 5.5 Mid-Indian Ridge, 5.4 Saipan, Northern Mariana Islands, and looks like the rest of these are 4s. Here's a 5.6 La Rivera, Mexico, and another one here at Reykjanes Ridge of 4.6. So let's go in. Oops. More of the same. We're just waiting. This is a 3.4 at Los Ibanez, Texas. That's close to Midland. And so on. So let's look at 7 days all magnitudes here. Look at this. So let's see what's going on. Worldwide, we've had 2,252 this week. Let's start up here at Reykjanes Ridge. We've had 88 here this week. The largest was that 6.0, and then we've had a couple of 5s and mainly 4s. Here's that 6.0. That came in on the 30th at 6:18 p.m. 88 here. Those are just the larger ones. And see, we've got movement on this Atlantic plate line. Here in the South Sandwich Islands, we've got movement. Look, all along the coast of South America, all along the Cocos Plate, up in the Imperial Fault Line, and here's West Pacific. .3 Luganville. Let's see. Alright. Now, let's go to Hawaii. And look, there's one kind of straight in the ocean. Wow, look at this. Hawaii has had 343 earthquakes this week. That's insane. I dropped it again. Sorry about that. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. It's my magnifying glass that I have handy in case I need to see really tiny stuff here. So, we've got 342. And here's Pahala. We just had a few around Kilauea. The majority have been at Mauna Loa. Now let's see. Pahala had 123. That's nothing to sneeze at. These were mainly 2s and under. And here's the largest one. 4.5. Right here. See? Right up there. That came in on the 27th. And then at Mauna Loa, 206. So they had twice as many. And here's the mouth, the crater of the volcano. And these are mainly 1s, quite a few 2s. I think the largest one was a 3 something. I'm not seeing it right now. Here's a 3.1. That came in on the 29th. There's 2s. Yeah, I think that's the largest one. So that's not huge, but you just see these amounts of the earthquakes, and this can cause liquefaction when you have so much shaking of the ground. Even with smaller earthquakes, it can just shake everything apart. Let's go. Okay, we had one on the Juan de Fuca plate, 3.2 on the 29th, and let's look at Yellowstone. In the Yellowstone area, they had 90 this week. And here's Pacific Northwest. And we had a couple at the Fulcrum Point. And here's one right at Mount Shasta, 1.2. And so on. There was a lot of clustering. And higher ones and just here and there with the clustering. So that's my report for tonight, and we're going to bring it back to a spiritual focus. And we started on the book of Job last week. And we're continuing in the book of Job in the Bible. Job chapter 2. And there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them to present himself before the Lord. And the Lord said unto Satan, From whence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God, and escheweth evil? And still he holdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him, to destroy him without cause. And Satan answered the Lord and said, Skin for skin, yea, all that a man hath will he give for his life. But put forth thine hand now, and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, he is in thine hand, but save his life. So went forth Satan from the presence of the Lord, and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot unto his crown. And he took him a potsherd to scrape himself withal, and he sat down among the ashes. Then said his wife unto him, Dost thou still retain thine integrity? Curse God and die. But he said unto her, Thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. What? Shall we receive good at the hand of God, and shall we not receive evil? In all this did not Job sin with his lips. Now when Job's 3 friends heard of all this evil that was come upon him, they came every one from his own place, Eliphaz the Temanite, and Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Nomathite, for they had made an appointment together to come to mourn with him, and to comfort him. And when they lifted up their eyes afar off, and knew him not, they lifted up their voice and wept, and they rent every one his mantle, and sprinkled dust upon their heads toward heaven. So they sat down with him upon the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and none spake a word unto him, for they saw that his grief was very great. Job chapter 2. So, just because you believe in God and Jesus doesn't mean things are going to be easy, and doesn't mean that you're not tested and tried. And God has a purpose for these things. He has a purpose, and if we can just let go of our own ego and kind of get the big picture and say, God, let your will be done. And still be faithful and do what you're supposed to do. Then you will have rewards. But I'm not saying you won't be tested and tried. But that's God preparing you for what is to come. So, I love you all, and I'm praying for you. If you haven't given your life to Jesus Christ, I highly recommend it now while you still can. So I hope everyone has a good week, as good as possible, and that you're safe. And Lord willing, I'll be here next Sunday with another update. I love you, and I'm praying for you. God bless you. Go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Good night.